Okay, with about a minute to go, I think I will go ahead and start with a quick introduction of the format of tonight's meeting. There is a public hearing on tonight's agenda, and as with any meeting, the ways that you can participate are by raising your virtual hand, using the chat function, and dialing *9 if you are on the phone. The instructions for joining a virtual meeting remain on our website as they have been for the last 3 months. Tonight's agenda involves the introduction and review of minutes. There is a public hearing on a zoning ordinance, a set of zoning ordinance text amendments. And there is action, potential recommendation on that set of text amendments after the public hearing is closed. There are no other new business items tonight, so that's a pretty simple agenda from a formatting standpoint. So with no further ado, I will turn this over to our chair, Carol Thompson.
Thanks, Director Powers. Good evening. Welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, September 23rd of 2020. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Jeff Jar,
Here.
Donald Boynton,
Here.
Brian Kelly,
Here.
Medina Atchison,
Here.
Sherry Budd,
Here.
Carol Thompson,
Here. Thank you.
Joan Franzoy.
Let's get
That
Joan.
one, sorry, my apologies.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have an agenda presented to us tonight. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Support. Who said support, please?
Commissioner Jar.
Commissioner Dar, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Then we'll have a roll call vote to approve the agenda, please.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. So the agenda is approved. We'll move right to the minutes from our regular meeting of September 9th of 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Commissioner Kelly, support Commissioner Boynton. Any corrections or changes to the minutes? Have a roll call vote to approve, please.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
All right. Our minutes are approved. First item on tonight's agenda, as Director Powers told us, is a public hearing. The item is RM Multiple Dwelling Residential District Amendments. The proposed amendments would allow and create regulations for single-family detached dwellings at a density of 6 to 7 units per acre as a permitted land use by right in the RM Multiple Dwelling Residential District. The amendments include updates to section 2.102, which is definitions, 3.104, permitted uses by district, 3.107, RM multiple dwelling residential district, and 4.102, the schedule of regulations. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Commissioner Boynton, support Commissioner Jar. Did I have that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Support.
great.
Thank you.
And we'll have a quick roll call vote, please.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy, Carol Thompson.
All right, so the public hearing is now open and we would welcome comments from the public. If you'd like to speak to this agenda item, if you can indicate through the variety of methods that Director Powers outlined, we'd be happy to hear from you. If you could keep your comments specific to this agenda item. If there are other items, you can bring them up under general discussion tonight. So anyone who would like to have a question or a comment, please, from the audience. Check with the moderator and see if we have anyone.
Yep, at this time, we do not have any virtual hands or anything in the chat.
Okay. Assume that's not someone calling me. I'll ask one more time. Any comments from the audience, residents, citizens? Hearing none. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Commissioner Atkinson, support Commissioner Boynton. And a roll call vote, please.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. So following that public hearing, we are going directly into the agenda item under old business, which is the recommendation RM for multiple dwelling residential district amendments. The same proposed amendments that would allow and create regulations for single-family detached dwelling at a density of 6 to 7 units per acre as a permitted land use by right in the RM multiple dwelling residential district. Same amendment updates as we read in the public hearing. And we've had this agenda item before us a number of times before for some discussion, some refinement and further review. So right now we'll move to Director Powers and then to our principal planner for their outline and recommendations. Then we can have the discussion with the Planning Commission. So Director Powers.
Sure, thank you, Chair. I will give a brief summary of the process we followed to date, and then I want to turn over the details to our, and the more in-depth discussion to our principal planner. But as the chair mentioned, this has been a sort of an evolving discussion. There have been meetings in June, August, and September to discuss this set of zoning ordinance amendments. And as the agenda item states, this is to permit detached single-family dwelling units in the RM multi-residential zoning district at a higher density than would be permitted in other single-family residential zoning districts at 6 to 7 units per acre. There have been some evolving discussions. This has taken shape over the course of the 3 meetings, and there were some additional changes made at the last meeting. The basics are the same, 6 to 7 units per acre. There are 2 different applications of types of units that can be applied, but they are set up in a way that you have dimensional standards that meet a certain requirement for these single-family detached housing units in the RM district. So without going into too much more detail, I will turn this over to our principal planner to summarize the report that she has presented, or really the most recent version of the zoning ordinance text amendments that she has provided you. I'll turn it over to Vidya
On
Krishnan.
mute. Thank you, Director Powell. The ordinance amendment that is before you tonight for the public hearing is one that the Planning Commission has discussed on multiple occasions. To summarize it in brief, as Director Powell stated, this would allow for single-family detached residential dwellings in the RM, multiple family district. The whole thing was triggered related to a specific parcel that's on Huron River Drive. However, the ordinance is applicable to all RM zone parcels across the township. Now, based upon prior discussions with the Planning Commission, the ordinance proposes 2 different types of lots. One would be the single family edge dwelling, which are the larger lots, and then single family interior dwelling, which would be the smaller lots. An edge lot would be anything that abuts a major thoroughfare. Previously, we just had it as abutting a major thoroughfare or other single family residential dwellings. The change since the last meeting to this ordinance is an edge dwelling would be anything that abuts a major thoroughfare, any of the shoreline districts, which is BLA and BLB, or any property that is zoned other than RM itself. It would be considered as an edge dwelling lot. An interior dwelling would be any lot that abuts any multiple family property or that is located in the interior side of the lot itself. The main difference between these 2 lots would be the lot size. An edge lot would have a lot size of 7,200 square feet, which works out to 7 dwelling units per acre. And an interior lot would be 6,300 square feet, which is approximately 6 dwelling units per acre. The lot width also changes. For an edge dwelling, the lot width required would be 60 feet. For an interior lot, it would be only 45 feet. The required setbacks too are, for an edge dwelling, it is 10 feet for each yard for a combined total of 20 feet. For the interior lots, we have previously proposed 5 feet for each side yard. However, the Planning Commission recommended a change to make it 5 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other for a combined side yard setback of 15 feet. That is the change that is in the ordinance at this time. Although this ordinance is being adopted, it is still all these single family homes will be subject to the substantially different criteria for single family detached homes that is already part of our zoning ordinance. This is to ensure that all the dwellings don't look identical when they are next to each other. The ordinance also requires that for interior lots, since these are only 45-foot wide lots, access to the garage, which can be attached or detached, has to be through a rear alleyway. The alleyway will not be part of the lot size itself. And the alleyway is not a regulated public right-of-way. So the width of the alley and the access from it is subject to review and approval by the township's engineer. Other than that, the ordinance basically tries to stay true to the master plan. It doesn't pick one percentage. When it says 6 to 7 dwelling units, it doesn't narrow down only on say 6.5 or 6.3. It gives options for the low end and the high end. So any development that is built under these stipulations will have a mix of larger lots and smaller lots on the interior to create a neighborhood type of setting. So this ordinance has been a work in progress, and all the changes before you tonight are based on all the feedback that was received at multiple planning commission meetings. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have in this regard.
Thank you, Ms. Krishnan. Questions or comments from the Planning Commission? Anyone?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Jar?
I just wanted to comment that thank you, Ms. Krishnan, for fixing the unknown reference errors in the document. It was a lot easier to review this time. I appreciate the effort. I don't know if it was difficult, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Planning commissioners? Anyone in the audience? It sounds like we're ready to take action. Is there a motion?
Oh,
It looks like
Commissioner-
Matt is talking,
I'm not
but
making a motion. I just wanted to touch on something real quick that I want to make sure we're all on the same page with. And hopefully, so I can understand the intention of the planning commission and our staff can make sure we understand it. In terms of the way this is currently written, the interior dwellings, it says must be accessed from the rear via an alleyway, and the alleyway must provide common access for interior dwellings. Is it the intention for every interior, is it this board's intention for every interior lot that's designated as interior to have an alleyway associated with it? Or can interior lots have one side as the front and the, like, in particular, I'm thinking about lakefront lots. And Vidya, this is a question that I just thought of as you were talking. On lakefront lots, we traditionally treat them as front yards on the lakeside as well. So on a lake lot that's an interior lot, the rear of the structure is actually facing the road. So would that be considered, because of the lake, would we want to, is that the intention that we would be considering those differently like we do with traditional lake lots where we treat them kind of as both front yards? Is that kind of what you guys are envisioning? Or did you, because if we go ahead and say edge lots or interior lots that are on the lake would require an alley, but there might not be room for that alley in some of these developments because it might be on the road because of the way it's oriented. So I just want to make sure we're understanding that. Vidya, do you want to clarify for me?
Just a question, Matt. If the lot is on the lake itself, if it abuts the lake, it cannot be an interior lot. It automatically becomes an edge lot. So the perimeter of the property, if it's on the lake, will have to have edge lots. And then the lots that are in the center can be interior lots. So Your question is whether we can have interior lots back to back without having an alleyway going through the middle?
Yeah. Is that something that's under the staff discretion or is it in the intention of the board? I just want to make sure we understand it before you pass it.
If
And I
the
wanted to-
planning commission wants to, they can make that discretionary, but the way the ordinance is written right now, it says that it is required that alleyway be the rear access so that you don't have lots of driveways on 45-foot wide lots in the front yard. By having a common alleyway in the back, all the driveways will go to the back of the house, and what you'll see in the front is green landscaping because it's a narrower lot. However, we can add it as a discretionary because not all lots would work out the same way. In some cases, an alleyway maybe might not be feasible to provide access to everything. We could possibly make that a discretionary item. The planning commission can decide.
Thank you both. Good question and good response. I'll ask commissioners, do you have feelings about having the interior alley access be up to the planning commission discretion?
Through the chair, I would think a lot would depend on what kind of design there was and how the roads were running through the interior. So I wouldn't say that it was mandatory. I think there ought to be some discretion when the plans are looked at that's submitted as to whether there would be a need for an alley on all of those interior lots.
That can be addressed by expanding footnote Z to say that alleyway access is recommended, however, is subject to flexibility, subject to
Planning commission approval.
planning commission determination. It'll allow for flexibility in design. So maybe some of the lots, it's simply not feasible to lay out the road network. So we don't get into, it's a good point, Mike. We don't want to get into a variance territory or box somebody into a corner unknowingly. So planning commission's flexible authority is a good idea.
Good, so that's a staff recommendation. Anyone else on the commission have comments on the recommendation? Okay, that's what we'll go with. Other questions or comments? All right. It seems like perhaps now we are ready for a motion. Is there one?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Kelly?
I move to recommend the adoption of the amendment to the Township Board with the expansion of the footnote that the alleyway is recommended, but is subject to approval and discretion.
Great.
Support.
Support Commissioner Boynton. Any discussion on the motion? It's a recommendation to Township Boards. What's a roll call vote, please?
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Medina Ashenson,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. So that will go forward to Township Board. And thank you so much to staff. They've really shepherded an inclusive process. And I think we've had some really good discussions on this, and hopefully the board will find that we actually have done a good amendment and be able to approve it. Next item on tonight's agenda is general discussion. I'll ask Director Powers, anything for general discussion tonight?
My only update for general discussion is that we, well, I guess I have two updates. We will have a meeting on October 14th. There will be one public hearing item, and there may be some other items on the docket. So there will be a meeting that night. In the meantime, it's worth reminding the Planning Commission, our full draft of the master plan is out for review right now. And we are just working on, there's a mandatory 63-day review period that other neighboring jurisdictions can comment on the plan within. So that period is active right now. It will end in early October. And sometime thereafter, we will have a public hearing on the master plan before potentially gets recommended to the Township Board for adoption. So that's something just to keep your eye on. We have the master plan posted on the website, as well as the interactive future land use map on a link on the website. So feel free to take a look at that.
Madam Chair, I wanted to add, I guess, at the pleasure of the commission, we could move forward very quickly after the 63-day period to move forward to have our public hearing. And Director Power has a few options to give you, and I think it would be best if the commission kind of decides what they'd like to do with the direction, Director Power.
Yeah, thanks for teeing that up, Director Best. So what we have is we will need to have a notice for a public hearing, which we can do right away, but there are a couple of options for meeting dates. It's a peculiar time because, of course, there is a major presidential election on the horizon here. And there's a possibility to have our public hearing for this before or after. I think the plan is ready to go. I think we could easily have the public hearing by the end of October on the second meeting in October. If there's any concern about, the bandwidth of the public and the engagement and broader issues in conjunction with our more local issues, then maybe we want to wait. But I think there's been enough outreach and education on the master plan that I think we could go ahead with the public hearing in October if the Planning Commission is comfortable. So I guess I'd be looking for some feedback on whether you want to go ahead that route, and we'll get working on the noticing for it.
Any commissioners have strong feelings about when to schedule that public hearing? Any of you who worked so hard on the master plan committee to deliver us with a great document, you ready to move it? Anybody?
I think it's ready to go.
Do we have consensus? No one is dissenting, so it seems like we might have consensus to go ahead and move towards a public hearing at the end of October.
Very good. We'll do that.
Great.
Madam Chair, I do have one other item.
Certainly, Director Best.
We will be bringing you an update here soon regarding Director Power will bring you an update soon, probably at our next meeting, to give you an update on some of the residential developments that are being reborn from 2008. In particular, Townsend Park has a second phase that you've already approved through, and it's already seated, ready to go. And the builders are actually looking to move forward there. We'll bring you an update on that and remind you what you approved to make sure that you're kept in the up to date on what's happening with, I think it's like 60 housing lots there. The water and sewer's already installed. A lot of the work's already done. They're ready to put the road in and build. So we're getting moving on that. So we'll bring you an update on that. There's also, because of the high residential housing is booming right now. There's also another development that's in the works at Cobblestone Creek that you've already put through a PUD or PRD, I can't remember, one of those. And it's part of that plan. We'll be following that plan, of course. There'll probably be some new elevations that'll be brought to you because the product that they sold in 2008 may not exactly be the product they'll be selling now. However, we're going to update you on that as well. And that's like 70 residential units, correct, Dan? Somewhere around there?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we'll bring you in the loop on that as well. I thought it's important for us to touch on that. It signals that the economy is moving in the right direction, and the direction that the Planning Commission has taken in the past is being followed through to now, and we're finally going to see some light at the end of the tunnel for some of these subdivisions that are sitting out there half done. So, and really, to be honest, the work of Dan Power getting these things together and put together and getting them off the ground again has been tremendous. So we're very lucky to have him.
That's great. Thanks for bringing us up to date. We look forward to those updates, and I think you'll find consensus at the Planning Commission that we appreciate Dan Powers and enjoy working with him. Other general discussion items from commissioners? Anyone have anything? Anyone in the audience? If there's nothing else, then we took care of our business tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Boynton, support?
Support.
Commissioner Jar? This will be all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And thank you. Thanks, everyone. We're adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.